Psychologists are really focusing on a new range of influence mechanisms and techniques. In the past, we used to focus on persuasion, overt attempts to change somebody's mind. One of the problems with persuasion techniques is that people react against them. No one likes to be persuaded. Currently, psychologists are doing much more work by looking at the ways people influence us without us being aware of it, often non-consciously, often automatically, which is a very powerful form of influence because people change their behavior, they change what they think, but they don't realize that this is being determined by another person. I can influence you in a lot of different ways, both through behavior and through not behaving. So for example, if you say something and I start nodding and smiling, then you will keep saying that. If you say something and I don't respond, that is, I don't behave, I'm unresponsive, I can shape your behavior so you'll be less likely to go down that route. And so what I can do is, by behaving and not behaving, I can begin to channel and shape your behavior. And once I shape your behavior, and one thing about humans is we like to see the world as consistent. So if you behave in a certain way, your attitudes will change to be consistent with that way of behaving. And so it's a very, like I said, very powerful form of behavioral influence because you don't resist it. You don't resist it because you don't know what's happening. And then if you see yourself behaving in a certain way, you internalize the attitude to go with that. And that's going to affect your behavior after you leave the room because that's what you now believe. Influencing leadership is one of the biggest challenges because leaders' self-identity is that they are influencers. And the second thing about leaders is that people become leaders typically because they embody some aspect of the status quo of what people want. So when you try to influence a leader, you're trying to get them to change, and what got them to be the leader was not changing, was to being part of the status quo. Now you've got to change the rules of the game. And that's where some of these non-conscious influence techniques are probably the most important for changing leaders. Leaders have to attend to what's going on in the world, and if they can see, they read the tea leaves, they read the polls, and if they can become convinced in some vivid way, but in some subtle way, so being both vivid and subtle at the same time, that what people want is X, or what people want is Y, they will tend to change their behavior towards X or towards Y and think it's their own idea. And that's the real powerful technique, is where you can get the people with power to do what you want them to do because they think they have the power to do it. A second way you can do that is if you can't get everybody to agree on which direction you want to go, getting a small group of people who very vividly emphasize one position over and over and over again. And you see that technique in politics, right? So sometimes in politics you will see interviews of various politicians from a particular political party, but they all say the same words over and over again. It's the same little soundbite over and over again. One of the things that happens is when you hear the same thing over and over and over again, your mind begins to think that it's true. You make the association, you believe it's true, and then once you believe it's true, you act as if it's true. So the continued repetition of the same message in an unyielding way is very effective for changing the attitudes of people who have power.